couple of Browns players recently appeared on a podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast. I'm looking for it here. It was something Varsity House podcast. Thank you very much. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Greg Newsome talking about the interpersonal relationship that really caused a lot of the in-house friction last year, OBJ and Baker Mayfield. Let's have a listen to what Owusu-Koramoah and Newsome had to say about that.
Odell got to be one of the best teammates I've had.
Nah, he's probably the best teammate.
Yo,
like, and people be
it's
like,
OD. It's wild how like from the outside, if I was looking in, it'd be like, oh, all right, yeah, cool. But yo, buddy, really, he was looking out for the rookies. He went on that like,
no haze and
yeah.
like after practice, he'd be like, hey, bro, let's work on this. Like, okay, when you do this, make sure when I release you like this, make sure you stay like this. Honestly, the crazy thing is Baker was a great teammate too. And yes, it was it's distracting, but like I knew at the end of the day, I still gotta do my job.
You're right.
And we played at the end of the day, we play defense, so we don't have to worry about the guy throwing us the ball. We ain't got to worry about the guy that's catching the ball. Like we got to stop them, and like we control our destiny at the end of the day. They control obviously the quarterback, receiver, running back. They can control their own stuff. So it was distracting for sure. Like it was definitely locker room talks. It's just like
it was locker room talks, but it wasn't like.
But like, it wasn't like on
locker room
we
talks to the point where it's
Yeah.
like let's not play. It's more like locker room talks from like a humorous side.
Right, yeah.
Look, here's the bottom line. And I don't know if you caught it, Chris, but when Greg Newsome was talking about Baker Mayfield, he said he was a great teammate. Not is, was.
Right.
And I don't want to get too caught up in conjugation, but there's kind of a subtle acceptance there that Mayfield's gone. He's just gone.
Right.
He's not going to be there. And the players know it. The team may be trying to sell something different to maximize trade compensation, but that ship has sailed. That bridge is obliterated. It's not going to be rebuilt. And it's relevant because I get asked this all the time. What about Baker Mayfield playing for the Browns this year?
Yeah,
if Deshaun
right.
Watson doesn't play at all. I mean, we got lawsuit number 23, and 24 is now coming.
On the way,
and,
right.
I got my hands on the 23rd lawsuit, and there's some strong stuff in there, some strong allegations, and he can vehemently deny all he wants. That doesn't make the strong allegations go away. The only thing that makes it go away is whether or not there's any credibility to the claim that's being made. So it's to be proven, to be determined, and one of the realities is they possibly will need Baker Mayfield for the full season. I just don't think at this point they can turn that ship around.
I don't think so either. And I don't blame Baker, even if they are trying to reach out and maybe turn it around and sell him that bill of goods. I don't. I mean, to me, they crossed the line there. And, these guys, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Newsome, I mean, star rookies, great players. You want to talk about there was locker room talks with OBJ and Baker Mayfield? What do you think the locker room's going to be like in Cleveland if Baker Mayfield walks back in there again? What do you think that's going to be like? I mean, that to me is why you can't even do it, Cleveland. I mean, he's going to be pissed off. It's going to cause division on your team. He's going to talk crap about everybody in the organization. I mean, it's just there's no way that's going to work. So, hey, I mean, Baker, even though we talked about his ego and everything here, this is one where I'll back him up for not wanting to play for Cleveland. I totally understand that. I think that's pretty apparent, and they've screwed him over. And I think the other thing that clip there shows there, too, again, is something that we've tried to beat down everybody's brains, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years. Odell Beckham Jr. is loved by all of his teammates. Loved. Like, no matter what team I've ever talked to he's been on. The Giants, everybody loved him, except for the Mara family and Eli Manning. Everybody else loved him. And so it's just amazing how the perception doesn't meet the reality there to a degree.
And here's what happens. Odell Beckham Jr. has this tremendous profile as sparked by the spectacular catch he made during the 2014 season, his rookie year in the NFL, and he built on that. And he became bigger than life, bigger than the game, bigger than anything, and he's got this aura about him. And then he walks through the door, and he's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy. And he's nice to everybody. See, that's why I say it's not hard to be nice to everybody. Maybe it's getting harder and harder in this country to be nice to everybody, but it is easy to just be nice. And so here comes this guy that everyone's like, oh, it's Odell Beckham Jr. Uh-oh, he's a diva. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. And then he shows up, and he's really nice, and he's handing out cleats and just being a great guy.
Right.
Yes, that's the ingredient to become beloved by the locker room. And I remember when they traded for him, Chris. I remember saying
you said it
on
day
this
one.
show,
Day one.
Cleveland is not big enough for Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr.
I thought it would work because I thought Odell could be the good guy, kind of like he was there to a degree. I thought it would work, but you said it.
But
from
that's
day
only
one.
going to make Baker more upset.
You might be right.
The nicer that Odell Beckham is, the more everybody's going to love him, and they're not going to love Baker, and Baker's going to get resentful and maybe not throw it to him when he's wide open.
Well, I got to think that's
ultimately the thing that made it fall apart.
Well, right, and I got to think that's probably one other thing that we could add to the list today of why maybe Cleveland didn't want to go down the road of what we're going to pay Baker Mayfield $45 million a year. You know, again, they had to be disappointed that the connection between Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield didn't work. They, of course, traded some big-time assets to get him, and it cost them to the point where it cost their team points and yards, and that's, to me, where maybe Baker Mayfield pissed off the brass in Cleveland, too, to go, wait, he's in a personal spat with this guy, and I know I showed videos on my Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast, and I know Odell Beckham Jr. Sr. showed them, too, as well, but it was pretty apparent once you started to break down game by game, and you started to go, whoa, this is more than just like, well, I missed a guy. This got personal to some degree. And that's where I could see that pissing off a team too. Sorry, London. Like, I mean, this is the second read. He's looking to the tight end on the right to Odell Beckham Jr. down the middle of the field for read number 2. He's looking there. He just doesn't do it. And there's a lot of that throughout the season. So I could see that being another one thing to add to the list to why maybe Cleveland didn't want to extend the relationship with Baker Mayfield.
And these are clips from the video that ultimately paved the way for Odell Beckham Jr. to be released by the Browns when he wasn't traded. Remember, that all started the day of the trade deadline. LeBron James, free OBJ, the video comes out. They really pushed the right buttons to get Odell Beckham out of Cleveland, and he landed with the Rams, and he won a Super Bowl, and we know what happened during the Super Bowl. He suffered the torn ACL again, and he's still unsigned. But look, that's part of the problem, and that's where, through that relationship, you may be absolutely right that the Cleveland Browns organization came to the conclusion that Baker Mayfield is lacking in some respect. Before we're going to give him $40 million a year,
something.
He is lacking,
right?
And we can't trust him to be the year in and year out guy because there's an easy aspect to the job, or an aspect of the job that should be easy, that he is just unable or unwilling to even try to master. And the one hope I have, before we move on from the Browns, the one hope I continue to have for the Cleveland Browns and for Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta. And again,
that's your
we
favorite
hope
phrase.
That implies good strategy, not bad strategy. I really hope that they are not thinking about playing this game with Baker Mayfield where, they've got this flow chart. Okay, we hope he stays away. We're going to try to nudge him to stay away while we continue to wait for a Teddy Bridgewater injury or some other thing to fall out of the sky so we can actually not have to pay him $18.8 million and maybe get a draft pick in return and solve this problem without him being here being a distraction. But if he does show up, I hope they're not trying to bait him into acting up so they can cut him under the Earl Thomas reasoning from a couple of years ago that the Baltimore Ravens employed when he had a $10 million salary guaranteed for skill, injury, and cap. And they said, well, we cut you for a different reason. We cut you because of personal conduct that was detrimental to the best interest of the team, not because of skill, injury, or cap, so you get nothing. If Jimmy Haslam has gone to Paul DePodesta and kind of nudged him toward cooking up a strategy that entails baiting Baker Mayfield to cross a line, because they know him. They've had him for 4 years. They know how to press his buttons. They know how to piss him off. Will they try? And I hope they don't, although for business reasons, I kind of hope they do. For the Browns' sake, I hope they don't try to play that game with him to get him to cross some sort of a line that they draw in the sand or the cement, as the case may be, and your phrase, and get Mayfield to do something. It's like the old, you put the you put the chip on your shoulder. That's what the whole thing is. I have here, knock it off. Like I'm daring you to do something. I dare you.
Yeah.
I dare you to give me a reason to punch you. I hope they don't dare Baker Mayfield to give them a reason to cut him under contrived circumstances to try to save the salary they otherwise owe him.
Yeah, I just you would think Baker, hopefully is up on that and realizes he's got to be careful. He's been quiet. He's been out of the the limelight, so we haven't heard much for him. I know I do wonder though. I mean, does it ever come to a point where he does start to think to show up? Does he do that? I don't know if it ever comes to that point or not. I mean, obviously they don't want him around, but he might have to call their bluff. I'd be interested to see if it ever gets to that point. But again, I know Baker Mayfield is not the easiest human being to deal with, or at least it seems that way. I don't want to say that. I don't know him personally like that, but it certainly seems by things we've talked about here on this show. But at the same time, still, I'll just go back to Cleveland. You gave him the fifth-year option. You extended this. You've really botched this whole situation, and now you're going to screw over this guy to a degree, really, professionally. There's really no other way to say it. Even though I know he hasn't been the perfect citizen for your organization, he's still been pretty damn good. You guys have been put on the map because of Baker Mayfield in a lot of ways. And you did go to the playoffs for the first time in forever under Baker Mayfield. And this is how they're rewarding you there. It's still screwed up in my eyes, at least as an ex-player.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, again, they know how, I think, to manipulate him if they are tempted to do so. And if he does show up, he needs to tread lightly and he needs to be careful because they're going to be watching and they're going to be baiting and they're going to be hoping that he says something, does something that allows them to cut him and say, there went your $18.8 million salary fully guaranteed. That would be their option if they just can't trade him. If they just can't trade him without having to pay a big chunk of the salary, and the report emerged last week that the Panthers wanted the Browns to pay $13 to $14 million as part of a trade. We talked about that earlier in the week. Their get-out-of-jail-free card, their get-out-of-$18.8 million free card, literally, is to set up a scenario where he would act up, cross a line, and then they dump him. And there would be a grievance that would last for multiple years after the fact, but they could ultimately win. They could win and avoid paying him the full 18.8, or they could settle it for half at some point down the road or something like that. I would just be very concerned that one of the strategies that Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta has been asked to cook up is a strategy for possibly getting rid of Baker Mayfield without owing him a penny.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.